Howdy all, welcome to Lex Lives. I think it's time to play a little 7 Days to Die. Alright, so I got down in here. I've been working on getting some niter because uh, I, I need bullets. That's just all there is to it. I need bullets. Oh, dang it. Now I'm hungry. I don't think I brought any food with me. How much niter have I collected so far? Where's the button that opens my inventory? 158. 158, 197. Honestly, I just need to collect a bunch of it. So I guess I'm going to run back over to my base and grab some food. Since I appear to be all out. So, since I'm spending another day working on bullets here probably. We did play D&D this week. I was the DM since we've started our trade-off. And so the players, they started out in town. I know the one guy said to me after last session that he really liked it. And now that they've spent a session in town, he was hoping to get outside of town and do some combat. Ooh, where are you going, man? I got distracted by that exclamation point. And they did not make it out of town this week again. So, no out of town for them. I feel bad because you're supposed to go up your first level in your first session, basically, and they still haven't gone up a level. Only got pretty close last night. Didn't quite make it. The problem is there's just so much in this town. And so they've mostly just running around asking questions about what's going on. Oh, you know what? Here's some food right here. Maybe I can get enough. I think I can't make the stew yet, right? I need one more point into... Oh no, what did you just punch out of the ground? Dang it. I think I need one more point into cooking. Pretty sure. It's pretty crazy to me though, because they were like all over the place. And I don't mean like I didn't want them to be all over the place. I meant like I don't know what they were thinking. They were all over the place. And because to me, right, you get in there and you start at one point in town and you work your way around town. And I was kind of hoping that would stack with that other, but apparently not. They started in the center right of town. And can I make meat stew? No, it's still locked. And then they went center top, and then they went bottom right, and then top left, and then top right, and then center, bottom right again, bottom left again. I think that's about where we ended the night. And then some of their choices are just a little bizarre to me. Okay, so I need to do this because I don't have any bullet tips, is my problem. So while that's doing lead for bullet tips and that other is cooking my meat, I'm going to run over to my chemistry station so I can drop off what little bit of coal and niter I have. And then we'll come back with that. But yeah, so they had ended last session 2 weeks ago at the inn, and they'd gotten information on all the people, and not all the people, but a lot of the people around town, and so they decided to go to this weird potion shop, and the dude's name is Basil the Bazaar. And so Basil is crazy. He so the setting for the world is that a comet struck and has released has released a necromancer who believes it's 1,000 years ago and is interested in immortality. He's been frozen for 1,000 years, and his magic kept him from dying, I guess. So he must be part of the way there. And so the problem is that his research in the immortality is going to lead him to releasing the demon Zancrown. And so the comet was actually an attempt to release Zancrown by somebody else. And so Basil attempted to use his magic to figure out what had happened and brushed minds, it says, with Zancrown, which drove him insane. And so Basil has painted his house with abyssal emblems, abyssal symbols, not emblems, and but they don't mean anything. They're just abyssal symbols. And so one of my characters like meted this thing, and because it's called the Demon Plague, gave himself a bunch of anti-demon things, like the ability to speak abyssal, which doesn't make any sense for his character. He doesn't make characters. He makes min-maxed, I don't know, min-maxed placeholders to beat the game, right? He doesn't come up with a story. He min-maxes his character to try and beat whatever's happening. And so he got really testy when we were building characters because he didn't roll as good on one of his characters as the other guy rolled on one of his characters. And he wanted to re-roll because he didn't think it was okay this character had a bad stat. Meanwhile, you don't use all your stats. That's the whole point of having a team, is that, you know, not everybody's going to be good at every skill. Some people are going to be better at a different set of skills than others. And so, anyways, he speaks Abyssal, but it doesn't mean anything. And it's just weird to me that his character speaks Abyssal. There's not a story reason for it. Like, I think I've had characters speak Abyssal, but that's because they were like warlocks, right? Who deal with extraplanar entities. Or like I had a wizard once who I played like a summoner, which would be a lot cooler now that they've added all new summoning spells. But like that guy spoke Abyssal because he dealt with demons, right? What does a guy who builds mechanical armor need to speak with demons for? So I would imagine that guy would probably speak like Dwarven because, you know, they're masters of forging, and Gnome because they're masters of tinkering. In fact, I think his guy is a half-elf this time. You know, things related to what your character does. That kind of thing. But no, he speaks Abyssal because we are Abyssal and Infernal, Two things totally unrelated to his character because we are fighting demons. And not that it makes any difference to me. It's fine. Whatever. Your guy speaks Abyssal and Infernal. It's just weird. And so they go and they talk to the guy. He has Abyssal symbols all over his face. And he has a fox, a taxidermied fox on his shoulder. And he uses ventriloquism to talk through the fox. He won't talk anymore. So they talk to that guy a little bit. He's actually got quite a story, but they didn't look. They're very weird about using their skills as well. So they talked to him and then they left. And then they went and they talked to where did they go from him? I think it's where they went across the center at that point. Oh, he out of fuel. So they crossed across the middle and they went to the windmill, which is a bakery, and miller. And so they talked to the miller, and he asked them to guard his place that night. Actually, it's going to be several nights. They don't. I told them it was going to be. He wanted them to guard their place at night, and then they must think he meant one night. So I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. Which started an event timer. So now this is a gritty campaign, and which means bad things are going to happen. And so they've just started an event that doesn't really have a good ending either way. The miller's wife is super depressed, and they haven't really got to talk to her yet. That happens when they're guarding, and she's either going to run away or kill herself, depending on what the characters do. I don't know if I'll have her kill herself, but I might have her wander off into the wilderness and disappear. I guess either way is a runaway. Either way, she's leaving, and when she does, the miller will attack them. And so they started that event, and then they went and talked to the one of the council members they hadn't talked to yet, this druid woman, because the village master lost a necklace that he told them belonged to his mother. And so they went and talked to her, and he had rolled, the one guy had rolled to, what's it called? I keep calling it intuition, but it's not intuition. Man, I'm drawing a blank as to what the skill's called, but you got a skill that lets you know whether or not it looks to you like the people are lying or telling the truth. And so he had rolled it against Basil. He had rolled it against the miller, and then he goes and he talks to the woman who has the necklace, and he doesn't roll it. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And so then they go talk to the other councilwoman. She has a secret, and I hinted that she has a secret, but they didn't pick up on it. I didn't hint very. I didn't like secret hints. I said, they asked her about the necklace. He rolled. What is that called? It's like intuition. Whatever the word is like intuition. Let let me look real quick here. Because I can just look it up. Almost there. Almost there. It is called... You know, it's that thing where you get the word stuck in your head? Insight. It's called Insight. All I could think of was intuition and inspiration, and I knew it wasn't those two things. It's insight. And so he rolls an insight on her, and I'm like, well, she doesn't appear to be lying about the necklace. But they didn't ask her any more questions, so they don't know that she's secretly hiding from a woman who's trying to kill her. And then they went to they cut all the way back across town to go to the general goods store, and they talked to the people there, and they found out that indeed, well, they found out at the woman who didn't know about the necklace that she had seen the general goods wife, the owner's wife, with the necklace. So they went and they confronted her. They intimidated her into telling them. And I'm like, intimidation just seems like a weird thing. Like the dude says, I'm a gentle soul, and now he's harassing good people. I mean, not good people, but people that aren't like enemies or something. But so they find out that yes, she had the necklace and she gave it to the village master because they're having an affair. And so they leave there, and then they go all the way across town to the other council member they haven't talked to. They basically bust into his house, and he doesn't know what they're talking about. And he does tell them that his nephew's missing, and that once again, they skip around in weird ways. So when they came into the village next to the village master's house. The house next to the village master's house is one of the council members. Across from the village master's house is another council member. They didn't talk to either one of those people. They skipped those, and then as they went deeper into town, they crossed the other council member's house. Didn't stop and talk to her on the way in. The mill is on top of the hill. They didn't go there. There's refugee camps all around the town because of the comet strike, and they did not stop at any of those. And no bullet tips. And did I remember to grab the gunpowder? I think so. And then they went to the inn, which is in the center right side of town. Right, and so they skipped a whole bunch of stuff to go to the inn. It was morning, so they didn't need the inn. I'm not exactly sure why they went to the inn first, because all they did was went there and secured rooms, and then they left to go do other things. So it was weird. Like you don't have to save your respawn point or something in the game, right? But whatever. And so they went from there. They went back to the woman who they had talked to before and didn't roll an insight check. This time they rolled an insight check. Figured out she was lying about the necklace. and then discuss whether they should intimidate her or not. And I'm like, aren't you supposed to be a gentle soul? Why aren't you trying persuasion? And he's like, well, I skilled into intimidation instead of persuasion. I'm like, okay, but you have like the highest charisma in the group, so every roll for you on that kind of thing is going to be pretty good, at least for right now. So, I mean, you can try and intimidate this woman, but she's already shown that she uses magic, and she might not take too kindly to people threatening her. And so they decided to not attack the high-level druid that they were talking to. Okay. Alright, I got some bullets again. I feel a little better. But I'm still in desperate need of niter and coal. So I guess I'll head back to the niter patch then and do a little more digging before we quit here. So they talked to her and they found out that most of the people don't like the village master. And she tells them that okay, let me rephrase that. The villagers are okay with the village master. The council members don't like the village master. So the way it works is the council is voted in by the people, and then the council votes on the village master. The village master is blackmailing three of the 2 of the 4 council members. So he votes for himself, and the other 2 he's blackmailing vote for himself. And so he always gets elected as council head. And so the druid woman had found the necklace, recognized that it belonged to the woman who is married to the trader, the general goods store owner. I forget what his name is. And so she was hoping to maybe use this to leverage the village master out, but she didn't currently have a way how. And so yeah, I think that's about where they... Oh no, they did go see... I forgot. So after they found out that the woman was having the affair by talking to her, they decided to go and talk to the one council member because she's very chatty. And so they had stopped by and gotten some moonshine from a dude who runs a still. Turns out he used to work for this nightly order and had escaped. And now they know he's there. And so while they were buying moonshine from him, they showed up to take him. And so they stood by and let the knights take him. So now that's going to play out. But he's definitely not going to be too happy with them if they ever see him again. And so then they went back and they gave the talkative woman some moonshine to try and get her to talk more, but she didn't know anything. At least about that. But I think they only have a couple more places to talk to next time we play, and then they'll finally be able to leave town. I so expected them to leave town this week that I had Rolled for the weather for 7 days, because it's about a 2-day journey to where they want to go. And so I rolled like 7 days worth of weather, just depending on how long it took them there. Not because I couldn't do it while we're playing, but because I like to try and mention what the weather looks like it's gonna be for the next day, instead of just, oh yeah, it's suddenly raining. I like to be like, as the day progresses, you see clouds are gathering, kind of thing. Not this time though. There's no clouds in the sky at all because the next day is a cold snap. And then I also rolled, since it's 2 full days to get, it's two full days plus a bit of the next day to get to where they're going. I rolled random encounters for daytime and nighttime. They only had one random encounter came up. And then I rolled them for the trip back, and they didn't get any for the trip back. That's an interesting mechanic that the game is using for that. You roll a d20, and if it's a 17 or higher, then there's a random encounter, and then there's a whole table of things that can happen. And they're not all bad. So they have good random encounters. And so I thought that was cool. And then you roll. There must be 23 things on the table because you roll a d20 and a d4 together to determine what you find out or what happens. I rolled nothing for the daytimes, but they did have one night where a pair of dire wolves are going to come for them as they camp. I might have to separate those dire wolves though, because they're pretty low level, and I think a pair of dire wolves could really kill some people. They're level 1. Level 1 is very fragile. And because of the way the game works, level 1 is very fragile. The AC doesn't shift around a whole lot in the game, and the amount of damage that things do, melee-wise, doesn't shift around a whole lot in the game. Usually what happens is they get more attacks. They don't get more damage from, like... I mean, sure, some things are going to have way more damage, right? If a dragon bites you, it's going to be a lot bigger than if a wolf bites you. But for the most part, I think the wolves do about the same damage when they bite. But the dire wolves just have a lot of hit points. Like, I think each dire wolf is almost the entire group combined in hit points. So a pair of those might be a bit much for level 1s. So I figured out what I would do is if they when they do make it that far, what I figured would happen is the first dire wolf would attack, and then once they get the first dire wolf nearly dead, if they're not too badly injured, I would bring in the second dire wolf. That way they get the full combat. But if not, then they'll just fight one. It's a dire wolf with a challenge rating of 1, which means that 4 regularly equipped adventurers of level 1 should be able to have a nice fight with it. And so 2 is a bit much, I think. Because that's the thing, is that this is a level 1 through 5 campaign, so this random encounter is a level 1 through 5 kind of encounter. And so they definitely could run into some problems there. But they only got that one encounter. Oh, and then the other thing I got to roll on this week that I hadn't done before was when they were talking to the guy at the moonshine. He rolls on the knowledge table. So they've got this other interesting table where it's a list of things about the game. There's 20 of them, I think. 20 things about the game. But each thing about the game has 4 things. So it's a possible fact, but then there are 4 versions of it. Truth, a lie, and then 2 versions of didn't quite understand the truth. And it's not like they're lying. It's that the knowledge that they have isn't true. So like, I rolled for the dude, the moonshine dude they're talking to, and so he rolled about the weather history of the valley that they're in, and so he believes that the valley has always been covered in ice. The truth, though, is that the valley's only been covered in ice for 1,000 years, which is basically the valley's always been covered in ice to people, right? Unless you're familiar with 1,000-year-old empires that don't exist anymore, then you know, it probably seems like it's always been covered in ice. As long as anybody's known, it's been covered in ice. Although there is a dude in the town who is older than the ice. I don't remember if he's like 4,000 years old, but I know he's supposed to be over at least 1,000 if I remember correctly. Elf, he's an elf. I've never played a game where there's an actual like old elf, and this has got an old elf, so he may be like original settler of the valley elf, old. But yeah, so I thought that was fun to get to roll on some of the tables. I have a table for weather that I roll on as well. That I don't even know where I got it from, but I always have a little note of it in a campaign when I'm running it, and it's pretty simplistic. It's just like you roll a D100 or 2 D10s if you don't have a D100. I do have a D100, but we're playing digitally, so I just did a /GR, which is GM roll D100, and then if it's anything from 1 to 70, I think it's just normal weather, and then 70 to 80 is 70-80 is like rain and stuff, and then depending on the season too, it's got it broken up into seasons, and then from 80 to 90 something is like heavy versions of that, and then like the last little bit is the worst. And so cold snap, that was in the 70s roll. I think that's it. Cold snap, heat snap, and then there's rain or snow, and then there's the worst weather. And so they actually rolled the worst weather on one of these. I think that's enough of both of those. Please don't go in the hole. I know I didn't do a good job of steering you, but it's okay. But yeah, so that's that was our night last night. A lot of talking, a lot of questions. A lot of rolls. I gave them 50 XP each because I feel like you should get some XP for solving parts of the quest since we're not killing things. I don't know why I came here. This isn't where my... Oh, I do know why I came here. Take it back. I need to get my coal. Oh, that wasn't quite enough coal. It was pretty close, though. And I know our DM that I play under, he only gives us XP if we kill things. So I like to give XP when you kill things, when you discover things, when you solve things. So they solved a couple things last night, so they got a little bit of XP, and which I think is nice. And then not enough to get them up their next level, but they got 75 the first night because they discovered a new place, and they got 25. They got 50 XP for discovering a new place and 25 XP for helping out the merchant that they helped. And then last night they got 25 XP for discovering who owns the necklace and 25 XP for discovering who has the necklace. Now they just have to decide what to do about the necklace. Because there are some quest rewards for giving it back to the village master. There's some quest rewards for giving it to one of the council members. I think they've decided right now just to leave it with the one who has it. I don't really know what she's going to do with it. I'm going to have to look that up. Problem is the results of what happens with that necklace only matter at the end of at the end of everything right now. Once they get through the entire quest book that we're playing in, all 5 levels, then the election takes place, and so that's has some general outcome on the election kind of thing, and not the woman's having an affair, but her husband knows about it. So, and he doesn't care. So it's a little, like, I guess the townspeople are going to be upset, so they might not vote as much for him. I know it detracts from his points. But yeah, it doesn't really have a big thing. I guess if they do reveal it, then the guys whose wife it is going to be upset because he was getting paid by the village master to keep quiet. And so if he's not getting paid by the village master, he's probably not going to be happy. But alright, with that, be better than the small things, lean into the light, and I will talk to you later.